This is Talk to Seattle, and I'm your host, Jason Rigden. On this episode, we have Jesse Greene, who is running for Seattle City Council in the 1st District. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Jason.
Thank you so much for coming on. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe your background and experience?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So, Jason, I have lived in West Seattle for 17 years. I was actually born here in Seattle, but I grew up in a little suburb of Tacoma called Sumner, Washington. I moved here, like I said, 17 years ago, but I have been coming out to West Seattle since 1996. Currently, I run a small hippie popcorn company called Uncle Woody's Popcorn Products. We started 17 years ago. I also serve on the State Advisory Council of Homelessness to Governor Inslee. I've been doing that for a few years, and I was actually homeless when I was a child for a few years, which has really led me to proudly serve the state of Washington and the governor on reducing homelessness within the state.
And what made you want to run for this office in particular?
Well, really, the primary driver for me running for public office is the response to homelessness that we've had in the city of Seattle. I really feel that there is this disconnect on working on the core issues and the core drivers of homelessness. Everyone who is homeless for a different reason. We have people that oversimplify the issue on every side, and unfortunately, it's a lot more complex than that. You know, if you take my example from when we were homeless when I was a kid, my mom was escaping domestic violence from my father, and so she was just trying to keep us safe. And so individuals that are homeless because of domestic violence have a lot different needs than individuals that do have dependency issues or people who have mental health needs that aren't fit, or if aren't being worked on. And youth, I mean, we have a 70% of our homeless youth are LGBTQ, and they're not accepted at homes. We also have kids that are aging out of the foster care system. So the needs of the people who are homeless are complex. A lot of times we have some overlap, but you have a lot of individuals that are working on it that really oversimplify the issue. And we have not done a good job in the city of Seattle of attacking the core drivers of homelessness. Secondly, I am a small business owner, and for me, we really have had this vilification of businesses in the city of Seattle, and a lot of the blights that the city is facing right now has really been I feel the council has vilified the businesses and made it that it's a lot of the businesses' fault that these things are happening. When you take a look at homelessness, the number one driver for homelessness is job loss. And so for me, I really feel as though we really need to be listening to the city, and we really need to be responding to the voters' needs. And I feel that we have a lot to improve on that side.
Could you tell me a little bit about your district?
Well, yeah. So I am in District 1. District 1 is throughout West Seattle and also encompasses South Park. Like I said, I live in West Seattle. I've lived here for 17 years. I started coming out here long prior to that, though, back when I was in high school. I really fell in love with the people here in West Seattle before I really even knew what Alki Beach or Lincoln Park or anything like that was. And in the South Park community, the business of Uncle Woody's, we manufacture here in South Park, and we've been down here for about a dozen years. And for me, I have a really deep connection with my district and a big love for it.
And what are some of the biggest challenges facing your district?
Well, the district has lots of needs. I think with my conversations during doorbelling and talking with the constituents that live here, homelessness is everyone's biggest concern. You know, we we have this feeling that the city is not addressing this correctly. We continuously take more and more funds on a city level basis and throw it on the services side, and we don't see improvement. There's this misunderstanding that the more resources that you throw at issues, it's going to make the issue better or solve the issue. I have a very good friend of mine that I was in school with. I just actually finished the executive leadership program at Seattle University last month, and a good friend of mine who is there, she's fantastic. She works for World Vision. She told me a quote once that really stuck with me, and she just said, another dollar does not mean a greater social impact. She said, sometimes impact is free. And really, I think that goes to the heart of the frustration that people are having within District 1 about addressing homelessness, is that we continuously want to see improvement, and the more and more resources that we have thrown on it, we haven't seen much improvement.
And what do you think are the biggest issues facing the city as a whole?
Again, I don't want to sound super repetitive, but homelessness really is the biggest concern that individuals have. We have a city council that I know, really do care about the issue. They don't have really lived experience with it. There's this echo chamber that seems to exist within City Hall, that they're just listening to one side of it's almost that they only hear what certain advocates say we need to do, which is more funding and more funding, without looking deeper into the issue. We need to be honest with ourselves that we really do have a drug issue, especially within the homeless encampments. And, I'm the first person to say that, we cannot oversimplify the issue. Everyone who's homeless definitely is not an addict, but we have a huge subset of individuals that are homeless right now, that are upfront and are in our optics, that we see using on a daily basis. We see that property crime goes up. There's the things that go to support that issue. And so there is this just very big frustration right now that we have not acted in a way to keep those individuals that are homeless, that are taking advantage of the way that we have enforced our laws, to just really give them free rein to continue to live there. And the thing is that we need to be dealing with this issue on every side. We need to be dealing with this issue from all angles, and that really has to start with us being honest with ourselves, not going out there and saying that the only issue is affordable housing. Now, don't get me wrong, affordable housing, there is no question, has a great impact on homelessness. For every $100 increase in their cost of living, we see a 6% increase in homelessness. We know that statistically. And so we do have an affordable housing issue, and a lot of that has to do with mismanagement of land use that goes, farther back than the last 4 years. But at the same time, we cannot say that every individual has become homeless just because they can't afford to live there, or they can't afford a house over their head. There are individuals that choose that. And so what we need to ensure that we're doing is that we're prioritizing our funds and our resources to the people that want help, that really want to get out of the situation. Like I had stated earlier, we have kids that are aging out of the foster care system with no place to go. We have the LGBTQ youth. We need to ensure that we help those individuals, get them off of the streets before they become wrapped into the unfortunate opiate and methamphetamine epidemic that we have in the city.
And how can the city help homeless folks?
Well, we need to start attacking the primary causes, the core reasons that people are homeless. We have we have some systems that do work well. We really need to properly resource things like the navigation team. These individuals, their primary goal is to find out the reason why people are homeless and get them the services they need to come out of it. And so those type of solutions really do go towards the key issues of homelessness. And so we need to continuously be reinforcing the solutions that we know work. But we also need to hold our service providers that are helping us on the services sides accountable for the resources that we give them and the quality of care that they are giving individuals. There has been a lot of success with cities that have started a scoring system for service providers, and that takes accountability and it takes transparency to hold them accountable for the way that they are using those funds. And right now, we don't have a great system for that. And that is something that we definitely need to drive so that we can continue to take our resources that we are dedicating towards this and have a great knowledge of how that money is being spent and how it's helping homeless, and focus our care on those. And the service providers that are not helping as many individuals or are not helping homeless get off the streets, we need to reevaluate the amount of resources we use for those type of initiatives, because we don't have unlimited resources. Every time we throw more money at this money just doesn't come out of the air. This comes out of your pocket, Jason. This comes out of my pocket. This comes out of our entire community's pocket. This is tax money. And so every time we waste resources on a city level basis and we need to raise more funds, that impacts all of us. That raises the cost of living. That exacerbates the issue of homelessness because cost of living goes up. So we need to be really aware of how we're spending our resources so that we go to proven strategies that work.
Another major issue in the city right now is transportation. What do you think the city can do to help improve our transportation system?
Well, there's a lot that can be done on both the city and the county-wide basis. Really what hits home for us in District 1 is taking a look at our future infrastructure when it comes towards transportation. Talking about ST3 and let's talk specifically about the tunneling or the possibility of tunneling versus elevated lines in West Seattle. I am actually a really big supporter of the tunnel project. And that was a hard place for me to get to because there is a lot more costs. There's an estimate of $700 million more to go through the tunneling system. But I do want to tell you why I support that. The reason I support that is we need to be looking towards the future of and the viability for this, years down the road. If we go with an elevated line, not only is that going to have an impact on the way that we can develop and grow West Seattle, we're also taking a look at removing up to 120 housing units that actually have increased density. And so for me, even just talking about the cost of living and raising that, if we remove that inventory out of the system, that raises cost of living for everybody. That raises houses prices, which then again has a negative impact towards homelessness. And so for me, it's really important that we continuously focus on long-term strategies through transportation to make sure that our city is vibrant, that everyone has an opportunity to get to where they need to in the city, and we still have positive impacts on the environment because of the density of transportation. We need to be really forward-thinking when we're making transportation infrastructure improvements.
And what can the city do to help improve housing affordability?
Well, housing affordability, that is something that we really need to address, and for everyone to understand that we all need to take part in this. There is a term, I'm sure, that you and a lot of the listeners know. It's the NIMBYs, the not in my backyard, that they want to see affordable housing, they want to see growth, but not in my community. I don't want to see my community change. And for me, the thing is we are a major metropolitan area. I mean, we're the city of Seattle. And so if there is a place that needs to continue to add density, it is the city of Seattle. Now, we really need to be working and listening to our communities to ensure that it's done in the right way, that we have proper parking, that we have proper transportation systems. But we need to add inventory. If we, just because we don't build it, doesn't mean that people are not going to want to live here. The demand is still there. And so we need to ensure that we're continuing to grow in a smart way on low income and median income housing to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to enjoy this beautiful city that we live in.
We live in very polarized times in the nation and increasingly in this city. How would you, as a city leader, work to bring people together?
Oh, I'm glad that you're asking this, Jason, because I was just listening to a story on NPR about this, and it's talking about how dissent right now is something that, for some reason, is viewed as a negative thing. I mean, we are, as elected officials, they're representatives of the Republic. They not only represent the people who voted for them or that financed their campaign, they represent everyone within the community. And that requires us to listen to everyone. Whether you agree with someone or not, when you're a representative, you need to be able to hear and work with people that are in the community that disagree with you. I can tell you, Jason, that if the people of West Seattle and South Park, if they do find me as the best person to represent them, what I can tell you is that I'm going to work really hard for the policies that we want to push through. But we need to be honest with ourselves that I don't want every single policy that I fight for. It would be wrong if we won on that issue. And why? Because that would be my utopia, not everyone's utopia. And this idea that you either agree with me or you're the other side, you're the bad guys. We need to start being honest with ourselves that say, it's okay to go outside of my echo chamber. It's okay to listen to the people that disagree with me, because when we make policy on a city level basis, on a statewide basis, or even on a national level, we need to ensure that we're humanizing the other side. It's really easy to fall into the trap of that dehumanization and not seeing people as exactly that, as people. We have to remember that our neighbors, if they disagree with us, they still have mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and kids just like we do. And this community is not just for myself, it's for all of us. And so we need to remember that. I think that we really need to get back to being honest with ourselves and with our positions, that saying, I don't have to win everything. What we need to ensure is that we are working hard to represent our community the best possible way that we can, even if it might be something that I don't entirely agree with.
And if people want to learn more about your campaign, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can go a few places. So you can go to my website, which is just at jessegreene.com. That's JESSEGREENE. You can find me on Facebook. I have the Jesse Greene. It's the same on Instagram or Twitter. Or, even on the flyers that I pass out every day, I actually have my cell phone number. And so I'm happy to state that out. My cell phone is 206-513-2737. 3480. I would encourage any listener, any person, if you have some concerns, please let me know. And what I can tell you is I will definitely give you an ear and listen to what your concerns are, because I think it's very important that everyone has a voice within this community. And the last thing I do want to plug, Jason, is I am taking part of the Democracy Voucher Program. I don't think that it's a perfect program by any means, but I support the program because of what it's attempting to do. And we need to ensure that we remember that we need to represent the individuals of this city. Our representative republic is not there to be run by corporations. And so anytime that we are making efforts to try to take corporate money out of politics and go and bring the power back to the people, I just really want to encourage that and refine that and to make that better. And so if anyone does agree with me, I would love to represent you. I would love to have the opportunity to earn your vouchers. I would love the opportunity to earn your vote. And I look forward to listening to everybody in the city of Seattle. And if they find me the best representative, to actually vote for me and allow me to serve you in city council.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Talk to Seattle, and I've been your host, Jason Rigden. If you want to support the show, why don't you follow us on social media? We're at Talk to Seattle on both Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for listening.